He said, Lord Jesus, Regina, vagina. Tariffs? I thought that was fake news. She really get on my nerves sometimes. Okay. Welcome back to my channel. This is, I'm Jason, and this is from Sinn's Perspective Reviews. And this is going to be a recap of Insatiable Season 2, Episode 4. Okay, so it opens up with Patty attending her college fair at her school. And so she's kind of contemplating her future and, of course, all the things that she has done. And, of course, her conscience is bothering her. So her conscience takes the form of Gordy, who was kind of like heckling her about how she's a bad seed and how she's all screwed up and she's never going to basically amount to anything. And you don't know why you're even here. You're a murderer. That's all you're ever going to be. You're just a disaster. Basically, everything you touch turns to shit. Okay, so Bob shows up and he basically they start talking and he's it's like, well, you know, I'm trying to work things out with Coralee. Basically I'm trying to get my family back together, and I'm doing what I need to do to make that happen. And so Patty was like, well, do you think that's going to work? And he's like, you know, I mean, all I can do is try. But then he starts telling her about Miss American Lady, the pageants that's coming up that they have to prepare for, and how he even got her involved in some organization called ASS. When I saw, you saw the acronym, so ASS stands for the Association of Substitute Sisters. So basically she's a big sister. So he signed her up for that because that's going to look good on her applications for the pageant. And she's like, you know, I don't know. Are you sure you should trust me with some young, impressionable person? You know, her being a serial killing crazy and as screwed up as she is. And he's like, well, you know, I'm sure one of the aspects of your program, because he knows that she's enrolled, goes to Overeaters Anonymous, is that is to help others. And so he was like, you deserve a clean slate. Just take this as an opportunity, as a do-over. Okay, so he walks off. Nonnie walks up because Nonnie is still trying to get to the bottom of why Dee and Patty are now all of a sudden talking to each other, because of course Dee hates Patty. And without thinking, like Patty does, she blurts out, well, nothing's going on between me and Dee. She's my sponsor for Overeaters Anonymous. So she's basically just outed Dee as being in Overeaters Anonymous, which is anonymous. And so Patty was happy. She was really happy that Nonnie was really happy that Patty kind of acknowledged that she has this problem and that she got herself into the program. But she was confused why Dee didn't tell her. So okay, so they've kind of got that together. Nonnie is cool with that. She just wanted to make sure nothing else is going on, which I don't know why she would think that, because Dee can't stand Patty. So anywho, during their conversation, she looks over and she sees Officer Greg, which is the buffoon officer who believes that Patty is responsible for Roxy's death. And so Nonnie was saying that, oh, you know, he's been talking to me. He wants me to become an officer like my dad. And yeah, so they start talking, and she was like, you know, he's been following me around. Patty's telling this to Nonnie because he thinks that I'm responsible for Roxy's death. And she's like, don't worry, I think he still believes in, like, Santa Claus. So it was something crazy Nonnie said. Like, girl, I wouldn't even worry about it. Okay, so then you see Magnolia and Barnard. They're standing at one of the tables. It's an African-American lady. She was talking to Magnolia about attending their school and how it's, I think it was supposed to be a historically black college. And Magnolia was like, well, I don't know if I would fit in there. And the lady's like, well, why? She was like, well, this is my dad. And of course, Barnard was standing there. And so she greeted him like, oh, hi, Mr. So-and-so. And, you know, they exchanged pleasantries. And then he saw Armstrong. So he walks over to Armstrong and asked him, are you going to be in the office later? And so Armstrong thought that this was going to be an opportunity for them to talk and kind of work things out. And Barnard was like, I want to know if you're going to be there. I wish that you wouldn't, because I want to clean out my office. I'm leaving the office because I'm running for mayor. And I don't want to see you. So yeah, that's why I'm asking. So, so of course, Barnard, during their conversation, Coralee walks in. She was like, Bob, and then of course, but they both turn. She was like, no, Brick's daddy, Bob. Yeah, we need to talk. So they go over and they talk to Brick and find out that Brick was a wonderful athlete, but a crappy student. And so his grades are not good enough for him to get into a 4-year college. So now they're trying to figure out what are they going to do. And so Armstrong is like, well, we'll figure this out. Not everybody was meant to go to college. And Coralee was like, no, he's going to college. And what are you trying to do? Like, you're trying to be a friend instead of being a dad. And of course, they started getting on their stuff on each other a little bit. And so Brick basically said, just because you fucked up your lives doesn't mean you get to start in on mine. And he storms off. So now they're standing there, and Coralee was basically like, you basically said what you had to say the other night, and when he basically said he wanted to be with Barnard, and of course Armstrong was like, well, you don't know what I went through that night, and I told you that's not what I meant, and da 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 da. And so they go back and forth, and of course, it becomes very emotional, and she ends up handing him the divorce papers. And he was like, so you just walk around with these? She said, yeah, I've been waiting for the right time, and I think this is the right time. So she hands him the divorce papers. And yeah, so, it was an emotional moment for both of them. So Brick is he's leaving, he's going to get in the car. He sees Magnolia in the parking lot. And so they start talking, and he just basically says that, he's great about his grades and how it's not good enough for him to get into a college. And, she starts talking about, this school and how it's a historically black college, how she doesn't know she's going to feel comfortable going there. So they start talking, and Magnolia was like, so do you want to go somewhere and talk? And he said, well, no, it wouldn't be right because I don't, basically I don't want to give Patty the wrong impression. And so they hug and they say their goodbyes. Okay, so Patty's back at home. She's looking through the brochures, and of course Gordy is still hounding her, like, oh, you might have to throw that away. You ain't going to college. No matter where you go, basically shit follows you, and so it's not going to be, you're never going to be da-da-da. So she's up throwing the brochure in the trash. Around this time, Dee calls her, and basically like, what the hell is your problem? Why would you tell Nonnie about me being in this support group? The whole point of anonymous is that it's anonymous, and it basically wasn't your place to tell her. And if I wanted to tell her, I would tell her it's my right to decide who I tell. And so she, of course, Patty's like, well, she thought something was going on between us, and I didn't want my friend to. And basically, he was like, this was a bad idea. I should have never gotten involved with you. I will send you some information on other sponsors, but I can't do this anymore. So she ends up hanging up. And Patty now, all she wants to do is binge. So there's a knock at the door. It's the people from Ass with her little sister. Okay, so her little sister is Becky. Becky is 13. She's plus size, and she's going through a lot of the same things that Patty went through when Patty was heavier, and she basically Becky basically sees Patty as the kind of person that she wants to be, big, blonde and thin, and what she considers to be beautiful. And Patty's basically telling her, like, she is showing her some of her old photos, like when she was heavier. It's like, I've been where you are. And the one thing that I would say was the biggest issue is not a lot of the self-hate that I had at the time. I wish I didn't have. And a lot of the thoughts that I had, I wish if I could go back and do things again, I would do things differently. So Becky's asking her how she lost the weight. And of course she told her the story about the homeless man punching her in the face and breaking her jaw, and her not being able to eat. And so all Becky thinks like, oh really? So is that all you have to do is get punched in the face and be jaw wired and you can lose weight? Like, she's that desperate. She's in that space right now as a teenager. Just all she can see is the end goal. She doesn't really understand all that goes into it. And so Armstrong is back at the office, and he's contemplating what he needs to do. He has the divorce papers, and he has the key to Barnard's house. And so Brick walks in, and he basically apologizes to him for going off the way he did. And he's like, oh, that's fine. And around this time, Patty sends him a text with her little sister, everything is all good about clean slate, and all she mentions clean slate. And so, Armstrong was like, you know what, I deserve a clean slate as well. So around this time, Brick is looking around the office and was like, have you been living here? And Armstrong is like, well, yeah, I've just been sent till I found some place to go. He said, no, we need to get you into a hotel. Now, why Armstrong didn't go to a hotel to begin with, why he was living in his office is anybody's guess, or why did he just go back to his family home and he grew up in a mansion? So why he didn't just go home? Like, I'm confused as to why he was living in the office instead of in a hotel already. But anyway, so now Brick is trying to help him get move his stuff and get him into a hotel. Okay, so around this time, Dixie is, of course, now she owns the Wiener Taco. And Vagina is there. She's trying to talk to Dixie. And Dixie, of course, it still has a lot of animosity because she blames her mother for everything that's ever happened to her. And so she don't want to talk to her. And so Vagina is like, honey, I know we haven't always got along, and I'm, but you need me now. Like, you're dumb. You've always been dumb, and now you're crippled. And so Dixie's like, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to be bothered. Get out. And so around this time, Coralee walks in, and she's like, Regina, why did 207,000 tamboozles come to my house? And Regina was like, oh, because I'm in between addresses right now. And she saw how much she spent. She said, between the tariffs and the shipping and all of that, you spent our budget. We don't have any money for promotion. She said, tariffs. She said, tariffs. I thought that was fake news. Girl, Dixie, that's your mammy. Okay, anyway, so they decide they're going to do a launch party at the Wiener Taco because the Wiener Taco is empty. Since Dixie took over ownership, nobody eats there anymore. Nobody wants to be bothered, and so she has no customers. So she's like, you know what? We could do a launch party here, and I could promote the Wiener Taco and kind of get customers back, and you can promote your little tampoozle, whatever. Okay, fine. So Brick, he's moving his dad into the hotel, and for whatever reason, even though his son is 17 years old, and so Bob was like, he said, I was happiest when I was with your mom and Bob. And he said, so Brick was trying to get a handle with his dad. He said, what are you, poly? Are you bi? Are you pan? What are you? And so of course Bob Armstrong was like, the only labels I understand are name brand. But so he starts talking about swingers and him getting involved in swinging and going on. He's talking to his son about going to these websites and trying to find out how he can get involved in this and couples that are looking for a third person. I'm like, why the show it's very inappropriate. It's inappropriate. We know this. So he finds a place called Swinging, something that has Swinging Sundays. I think that's the name of it. And so now Brick is trying to pick out an outfit for his dad to attend this like speed dating thing so that couples and singles can kind of determine if they vibe and want to hook up. Why your 17-year-old teenager, why your child even knows about that is okay. So Patty and Becky, they're trying to figure out like some activities they can do together. And so they come up with roller derby. They get to the little place, they get all strapped up. Becky's on the floor half a second before she falls and basically busts her nose. So blood is coming out of her nose. It's a hot mess. So she goes to help her up and get her all cleaned up. Back at the Wiener Taco, they are kind of boiled over how they're going to promote the party. They're getting the stuff, decorating and all that kind of stuff. And so they enlist the help of, and one of the things that we're talking about is having a contest of the best period stories. And so they enlist the help of Brick and Barnard. So around this time they were talking, Barnard actually called, and he's got himself out of the office, and he's talking about his campaign and all that. And so he agreed to help. So they agreed to help each other. So they're going to promote the party and promote Bob as the mayoral candidate. So around this time, Becky and Patty, they've left roller derby, and they're talking. And the next thing you know, Becky sees Brick. So she's like, who is that? And so Brick comes over. Brick and Barnard are running through this campus shirtless because they're in great shape, and they're passing out these advertisements for the party. And so Brick comes over and he kisses Patty. He's like, oh, this is my boyfriend. And so they say their goodbyes. And of course now Becky is like, that's your boyfriend? Oh my God, like you're thin and you're beautiful and you have this gorgeous boyfriend. Of course, now she's back into, and you said that your life wasn't perfect. And so of course now it's like Patty's constantly having to like, no, my life is not what you think it is. I wish one of the issues that I had was that I lost the weight, but I didn't do any of the real work to do it. And Becky was like, well, that's good. She's like, no, I didn't do any of the mental and emotional work. And so I'm still left with a lot of the issues that I had when I was overweight, even though I'm thin now. So it's not everything that you think that it is. So, so Brick shows up at Swinger Sundays, and he ends up meeting a couple, and that lasted about half a second. So they get home and they get into it, and then the whips came out and all that, and Brick and Armstrong head for the door. And that's when he saw the flyer on his car for the party. So on one side, it was promoting the luncheon for the Tampoos. On the other side, it had a photo endorsing Barnard as the mayoral candidate. So he's like, what the hell is this? Wait a minute. So he has to go and find out what's going on. So Patty and Becky are there. And they're talking. And who the hell shows up? Angie, Patty's mom, out of the blue. She shows up with these huge titties. She done went to Brazil and had her breasts done. And so she's like, what the hell? What did you do to yourself? And she's like, oh, they had a 2-for-1, blah, blah. And she was like, wait a minute, so why are you back? She's like, well, something I didn't tell you. So she's telling her about Gordy. He's like, he might be your dad. And so, of course, Gordy is still there all in her ear. So when she said might be her dad, they both kind of looked like might be. She was like, yeah, she was basically saying she left because she didn't want Gordy in Patty's life. She set him up, if you saw the last season, and stole his car. And she basically was trying to get him away from Patty. But, of course, her way of doing things is just crazy. And she said that when I got the text that he committed suicide, I knew it was safe to come back. So Patty was like, okay, so wait a minute. If he hadn't died, would you have ever come back? That question was never answered. But we already know the answer that no. They exchange words, because now she don't know, again, she's back to not knowing who her father is. And Patty walks away. So Nonnie walks over. So she walks over to Nonnie and starts telling Nonnie some of the stuff. I don't know, and I think this guy's my dad, and he's dead, da-da-da-da-da. So Officer Greg has been still following Patty all over town. So Nonnie walks over and basically tells him that, I am thinking about getting into the police force and I want to do forensics. Can we go to the morgue? Because Gordy's body is in the morgue and they want to get some of his DNA so they can do this test to see if he's Patty's father. Okay. So around this time, Becky walks up and basically calls Patty a liar. She's like, what are you talking about? She said, Brick told me that when y'all met last year, you were overweight and he didn't want to be with you and he's on now with you because you're thin. She was like, he said that? And she said, well, no, not in so many words. And so that's when Patty basically had to let her know, like, look, I'm being investigated for murder. My mom's this, and this is all this. So she basically tells her as much as she can without incriminating herself. And so Becky's now sitting there like, oh, okay. So she ends up taking Becky to the morgue with her so she could get the DNA from Gordy. And so while they go to the morgue, Regina starts doing her thank yous. So she thanked, of course, Dixie. She thanked Dixie for allowing them to promote. And, of course, she took the time to apologize to her. And so they end up reconciling. So around this time, Bob Armstrong shows up. So Coralee is now doing her thing. So she thanked Britt for all his support and how, she was like, you're a wonderful guy, you're a wonderful man, you're going to do great things, and I'm proud of you, and thank you. And then she said to my dearest friend, Bob Barnard, because of course this one of the things of this event is to promote him as a candidate. So he walks up and he basically thanked her for all of her support and how his platonic, that's how he described her as his platonic soulmate. And of course, this is going on, and Armstrong is like, what the hell is going on here? First of all, they both hate me, but now they best friends. So he walks up and basically like, I am sick of this shit. I'm tired of being treated like the bad guy. They all standing like, Coralee and Bob are like, what are you doing? And you guys hated me, and you said that you would give this a try, and the very next day you said you didn't want to do this, and my marriage was fine until you kissed me. This is telling Bob Barnard. I'm assuming everybody in town didn't know he was gay, but now so he didn't outed Barnard most of the time, so the rest of the town. And this is not right. I am sick of feeling guilty. So he gives him the key and gives her the divorce papers and basically saying that he was running for mayor too. And he storms out. So as he got in his car, Angie walks over and she starts talking to him, and she wants to be his campaign manager. And he looks at her like, "Girl, what?" She was like, "Well, I was class president in high school, and I didn't have to do blowies to do it." So he's now looking at her like, "Oh, huh? Okay, really?" And then so they talked, and she said, "Well, because Barnard called Coralee the Nancy to his will, or the Grace to his will, something like that." And she was like, so Angie was like, "We can be this, I can be this, you can be the Sid to my Nancy," and all this other kind of stuff. And so he was like, "You're not going to stop until, you're not going to get out of my car until I agree to do this." She was like, "Yep." So he agreed. She agreed. And then he looked at her chest like, "What the fuck are those?" And she was like, "Oh, I went to Brazil. It was 2 for 1." And, she was all it was all pushed up. And he just like, "Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay." So Patty, they get the DNA. Apparently their drugstore has a test called Who's the Bastard's Now DNA test. Okay. So they end up doing the DNA test, and this rinky-dink little test is telling her that Gordy is not her father. So, of course, she's happy. So while they're talking, Becky finally works up the courage to stand up. She starts talking about, she's 13, that she hasn't had her period yet. And she goes in and she basically conquered one of her fears, which was public speaking. So, of course, Patty was proud of her. So, at the end, you had Magnolia, and she's like going through her phone, and she see that she was at Hughes College. There were photos of her, and she was wearing the exact same outfit that she had the night that Christian was killed by Patty. And so she slowly starts to remember what happened that night. And so, of course, now Nonnie's like, "Oh, this is a clue. I can help you investigate. I'm really good at investigating." And so, of course, Patty's face is like, "Oh, hell. Am I going to have to kill Magnolia?" So that's basically how this episode ends. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. We still don't know where Stella Rose is, if she's even dead. So she's probably still around doing her shenanigans. So anyway, that's how the episode ends. I'm going to end this video here, and I will talk to you guys later.